This turned out to be a good learning experience. So remember from video number 1 that we were like 9 psi, 14 psi, and I think we were 60 to 80 on the high side. Then I recovered the refrigerant and showed you there was only 180 grams and it should have 650 grams. And I told you that oil doesn't return back to the compressor when a customer keeps using their AC. When it runs low, it starves the compressor for oil and it starves the compressor for cooling. Well, now I filled up the system and this is what we got. We have no PSI. Let's look at the superheat subcode. We got no well, it's off because I have it in a different place. I'll show you that later. We got superheat 52. It was 74, but now I have a full system. And 74 superheat on this vehicle is wrong. 5450 superheat on this vehicle is wrong. But we're not going to go back to that. Now we're looking for a problem because after it's full, it doesn't cool no more. Look at the cooling. We have outside temperature taken from that point right there out of the sun is the outside ambient temperature is 76 degrees. The air out of our dash, we got 90 degrees coming out of the dash, and you can see my sensor right there, 90 degrees. We have a hot dash, a hot interior. It's not cooling. And now look at the temperatures. Let me see if I could get out of this cloud, get inside. Look at the temperature where it says temperature. You know what that temperature is? That's the temperature of the line going into the condenser, and that's the temperature of the line going out. Yeah, that's a little less glare. Okay, so this is the vapor line going into the condenser. We're at idle. It's not even hot out. It's only 76 degrees. We're at idle. We have a full refrigerant charge, but the temperature coming out of the compressor, condenser, 52 degrees. So we're going in at 212. We could be boiling water right now, 212 degrees. And actually it was higher, it was 217 a few minutes ago. So we're above the temperature at which water boils. And coming out of the condenser, we're at 52. That's more than the average, the rule of thumb. And you know how I hate rules of thumbs. On high efficiency condensers, like parallel flow condensers, 50 degrees is sometimes even too much, because sometimes you'll see the split on those down around 20 or 30. So what do we have? We have way over 100 psi, 150 psi of temperature drop going across the condenser. We have debris from the compressor inside the condenser plugging it up. Because look at our high side PSI, 43. Well, how can we have, weren't we taught in school, when you have a plugged up high side, you have a high pressure, but we only have 43 PSI. Well, let's see where where are we hooking in at? Let's come over here. Where are we hooked in at? Where is our location? Our location is after the condenser. Where is the restriction? The restriction is the condenser. And then before the condenser at 200 degrees, if we took this fitting and we placed it before the condenser, we would be reading a higher pressure. But because it's after, it's condensating. That's even another good shot. Here's the liquid line. Our liquid line, you can see water on it. Let me see if I can zoom in there. You see the water droplets on the liquid line? So our orifice tube, our expansion valve, our restriction to make cold is the condenser. The condenser has turned into an expansion valve or an orifice tube. So we have a bad compressor, and I looked up this compressor, it's $1,100 compressor. We have a bad compressor. We have debris in the system. So this was 217 degrees when I was first starting it up. And whatever the discharge temperature is inside the compressor, it's 50 to 75 degrees hotter. So let's round it up to 220 degrees on a hotter day, and let's add 50 degrees. That's 270 degrees. You're already into the point where you're literally coaxing the oil. You're breaking down the oil. Oh, and another thing, when the refrigerant, I smell the refrigerant that come out of here, a real foul smell. It has the moisture, foul smellness to it on this one. So whoever did it, somebody did do it before. There was a high moisture content in here, and it just has a certain smell of the oil when somebody has exposed it to moisture before. So by the customer not taking care of this problem when they first noticed it was going low on refrigerant, they are the cause of the damaged compressor. And the shop who moisture contaminated the system. So that's it on this one. They'll get, let's see, it was $1,100 for that. I haven't looked up the price of the condenser, but the condenser is probably somewhere around $300 and some odd dollars. Have to flush the front and the rear. At least the rear doesn't go all the way to the back. The rear goes to the center console. There's an evaporator in the center console, and they have a dog in the back. And so right here, right there, that's where these are the heater core lines. These are hot as hell. And this is the suction, they're insulated, and the liquid line right there, right above that hot exhaust. But they have them insulated on this car, what it should be. So they need 2 expansion valves. Totally take apart the system and flush it. I didn't see no mufflers, but if there's any mufflers in the system, any line with a muffler gets replaced. If it doesn't have a muffler, you could reuse it. So flush all the lines, flush the evaporator, flush the condenser, because you're going to have the expansion valve out, and in this one the expansion valve is on the inside, unfortunately. So it's several hours to get to this one, and I think it's a few hours to get to this one because the expansion valve is not out here. It's always a shame when they don't make them easy. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be friendly on the rear either. Damn, this is good. This actually, the repair on this vehicle exceeds the value of the vehicle. Now, some guys go, oh, we get away with not changing expansion valves. Good for you. I'm glad you could do that. But there's no warranty. If you have a compressor burnout, especially with burnt black oil and moisture contamination, there is no warranty if and or but. If I put on that compressor and it burns up in 5 minutes, you're paying for that, because that's just a stupid thing. If you're the shop and do it, the compressor manufacturer doesn't. It's not a defective compressor. It's a defective owner of the shop who decides to do that. On a burnout like this, and you're replacing the condenser, you replace the expansion valves, and they're in series. They're like brakes. You don't just change one brake pad on one side, leave one down to 5% because there's still a little life on it, and put a new rotor or turn a rotor and put a brand new on this side. What's going to happen if the customer leaves your shop, goes up on the freeway, he's doing 75 miles an hour, and all of a sudden there's an instant stop and he slams on his brakes? What's going to happen? One side is going to lock up, one side is not, and his car is going to, do that bit. And he's not going to stop in time, and he's going to rear end somebody, and it's the shop's fault. Same thing. If you put a compressor on here and just change the condenser and do nothing else, and the compressor fails, it's the shop's fault. Now, if the owner wants to overwrite that, and if you're one of those shops who are willing to do that, as long as it's in writing, and the owner said, oh, somebody, my friend, brothers, cousins, uncle, who's related to my dog, told me that I don't have to change all that stuff. You're trying to rip me off. I want you to just put on that compressor and that condenser, and then it comes back a week later with a burnt up compressor. Guess what? No warranty under that compressor. Mr. Customer, since you're the one with the bright person who said that's all you got to do and it burnt up, it's your fault. If you're the shop and go, oh, I want to get this job, I don't want to lose this job, I'm going to try to do it as cheap as possible, and we know sometimes it works when you don't change the expansion valves. But if one expansion valve is stuck closed, well, you got a mad customer and you're coming back and replacing that expansion valve. And you should have flushed out all the oil, but you're going to try to be cheap again and just do the one expansion valve. But what if one sticks kind of open? Expansion valves have moving parts in them. They have gas calibrated piston on top in a diaphragm, and they leak gas over time, and they drift out of calibration. They don't always work so good. And a controlled amount of refrigerant has to be metered from the expansion valves, in this case, there's 2 of them, to get the correct amount so you don't flood a compressor or you don't starve a compressor. Expansion valves are a wearing item, and after a burnout, you have black burnt oil, you have metal flake, sorry, you replace everything. So we got a probably close to $3,000 repair on this between the labor, the parts. This will be about a $3,000 labor bill right here, in parts, if not more. All right, guys, I'll see you later. And that's how you tell the problem. There's 150 degrees of pressure between where I'm taking the temperature of the line going into the top of the condenser and the line that is condensating right here, because I couldn't get my clamp over here. Well, I could get my clamp over here. It does not really good, no. But the line coming out. See you guys.